Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Alex Tran, and I am super excited to talk to you today about the spiritual discipline of fasting. And so if you're not familiar with fasting, think of fasting as removing something from your life so that you can insert more of God. The way I like to think about it is fasting prepares you to connect more with God. Think about, if you have to take a math test or if you're practicing for a big sports tournament, the more you practice, the more you study, the better you're gonna be when you come and show up. And so fasting prepares you to be able to engage and connect with God more. So really you can fast from anything. A lot of people will fast from food, or if you're like me, you need to fast from Netflix binging, because I'll be sitting there watching Netflix for 3 hours at a time. It'll pop up that message and ask, hey, are you still with me? And I'm thinking, yes, Netflix, I am still with you. Will you quit judging me? So that's a great thing that you can fast from. And really, you can fast from anything that is a distraction from you spending more time with God. For the past 10 years, fasting has been my go-to spiritual weapon whenever I felt disconnected from God, whenever I've had a big decision that I needed some direction for, or really whenever I've had a burden to pray for something. I had a big decision to make in my life a while back, and it was essentially what was I gonna do for my next job. So I had an offer on the table, and the challenge with this offer was that it required me to move to a new state and essentially start over from scratch. And the other thing was that I was doing a job that I knew that I could do, but ultimately didn't want to do for the long term. So big decision, and I decided to fast and pray about it. And as clearly as I'm talking to you right now, I heard the Holy Spirit say, take the job, it will be a place of strength. And I can confidently say now that it's been a few years after that God absolutely knew what he was talking about, that it has been a place of strength in that job. And I know that fasting was a huge catalyst for me to be able to hear from God. I mentioned earlier that fasting prepares you to hear from God. It helps prepare you spiritually. So what I want to do today is give you 3 really easy tips to help you get the most out of your fast. And so the first one is to have a reason for fasting. What is the most important thing that you want to see God do in your life right now? So have a reason, because that's like an anchor for a boat. It basically, as the waves come and as temptations come to want to break the fast, it'll keep you secure and focused on sticking with your fast. And so whenever you look throughout the Bible, everybody that fasted and prayed always had a very specific reason. And so I want to share one of those with you. King David just had a newborn son, and that newborn son was struck with an illness. And so he says this in 2 Samuel 12, verse 16. David pleaded with God for the child. He fasted and spent the night lying on sackcloth on the ground. King David had a reason for fasting. He was pleading to God for his son. So number 1, have a reason for fasting. Number 2, pick what you're fasting from. And this is actually really easy. All you have to do is take a look at your day and where are you wasting a lot of time or being distracted away from God. And that could be Instagram, it could be Snapchat. Are you watching too much TV or hitting the snooze button way too many times in the morning? So what exactly is distracting you from God? That just may be the very thing that you need to fast from in your life. And the third tip, the most important tip of them all, is to make God a priority. You've already figured out why you're fasting and what you're fasting from. So now it's taking that extra time and energy and connecting with God. And you can do that by reading the Bible or spending more time in prayer and worship and listening for God's voice. And so whatever you do, make God a priority. In the verse that I read earlier, King David was fasting and laying on the ground. And so do you think he was laying on the ground taking a nap while his son was dying? No, he was fasting and seeking God and praying for his healing. And so whatever you do when you're fasting, be sure that you make God a priority. People fasted and God answered prayers. Man, there is spiritual significance to fasting. And so let that verse motivate and encourage you to have a reason for fasting, to pick what you're fasting from, and to make God a priority. So now let's go to your small groups and talk a little bit more about how fasting could play out in your life.